Welcome to Learning Unit number 2. So we're already on to Learning Unit number 2 of the spring semester, and you have done the introduction unit, which we started off. You have looked at the assignments tab, and all you can see right now in this tab is the discussion board that we reviewed last week. You've always know that you have the library resources and APA resources. You've completed Unit 1, and so now we are on to Learning Unit number 2, the illness experience. And when you click on Learning Unit number 2, you're going to, let me click on again. You're watching this video, and you know that every week we have a written description of what we're doing this week, including learning activities, what the objectives are, and what I expect you to complete. So if I click on that, you're going to see what our topic is, our learning objectives. I'm not going to read everything for you. You're going to have done all the things that we're going to review right now, including your discussion board post by Friday evening and replying to at least one other post by Sunday evening. And you can go through these, but let's move along here. And so now we're on to our first learning activity. So whenever you get to a learning activity, what I recommend is that you read the title. Now you'll see this is from the American Society of Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery. So this is information that surgeons who do the gastric bypass, gastric banding surgery have put together. So know that it has a slightly different perspective than you might find somewhere else, but I reviewed all the information and it's good information. So you're going to read the information and you're going to watch, there's a brief video. And this video talks about obesity as a disease. And then I want you to think about how you would define obesity. Is obesity a chronic disease or a chronic illness? We went over this in week 1. Last week's readings refer to the pathophysiology of a condition for a disease. Illness, in contrast, is the human experience of a disease and refers to how the disease is perceived, lived with, and responded to by individuals. So this is a reminder. We're taking the information from last learning unit and applying it now to the topic on obesity. So when you click on this, it takes you to the site. And the first thing you're going to do is watch this brief video. And this is talking about what is obesity and defining it. And then you're going to see that you also have written information that I want you to review about defining obesity, measuring it. We do that with the BMI. So what means that, what BMI stands for what? So if you're normal, your BMI would be this, overweight, class 1 obesity. So you can see obesity starts at 30 for a BMI. So you want to read through here. You can calculate your own BMI here. I'm not saying that BMI is the only way to look at obesity and overweight. There are other ways, and this can not be as accurate, especially for athletes who have a lot of muscle mass, calculating the BMI. But I want you to have that basic understanding about BMI. The progressive nature of the disease. You're going to go through and read the rest of this information. And that's the content because you're not reading through a textbook. And along with that, here is our country's health rankings. It's a report done specifically on obesity. And so again, before you click on, I want you to read through here. You're going to look at the information for general population, And then I also want you to read the sections under about obesity that have the plus sign. Let's just quick look through that. So here is the information starts here with, and this is from 2024. And so we know that 30 or higher BMI, body mass index, is associated and is identified as obese. And what they're saying here is 34% of our population is obese in the US. That's 1/3. So now we can look at it in depth. We're going to start by, if it doesn't say this when you open it, click on, and you want to make sure you go onto the general population. Later, you can come back, and if you're female, you can click on female. You can click on age to compare yourself with others. You can look through in any different way. But we're looking at the general population, so keep that in mind. General population is 34% obese. And then you can look at it by state. New York versus Pennsylvania versus Ohio. You can see the difference. Ohio has the highest rate. But you can look at all the states across our country. And then you are going to review that there's top states, who does the best, who does the worst. And then you're going to look at trends, and you can see even with there's some stabilization, and that might have been related to GLP-1 use in 2024. Maybe not. I'm not sure on that. But then you can read more information about obesity, general information. These are what I also want you to look at. Why does it matter? Who's impacted? What works? And what are our goals? So please look through that. You can stop there. That's the information I want to provide you on obesity. This is going to be a video on mindfulness and mindful eating, because remember, we're talking about obesity, but we're also beginning our discussions about mindfulness that we will continue throughout this course. But we're kind of combining mindfulness and then also, so you can click on that video there. And then we're going to start using our Smiling Mind app. In our introduction, I explained about how to download this app to your phone. You can also use it on your computer. So you're going to be doing two things. You're going to your Smiling Mind app. On the bottom, you're going to see a magnifying glass image with the word Explore. When you click on the Explore, at the top of your app, it opens a dialog box that says, what are you looking for? So I have asked you to look at and listen to two things. Why do we need mindfulness? Thought that was a good way to start. It's a 1-minute listen. And then what is mindfulness? A 5-minute listen. You can be doing a lot more on your Smiling Mind app, but every week we are going to have an assignment, and it's important that you do that because that might be content covered within your quizzes. So as you know, every week we have a quiz, and this one is going to test you about your knowledge about obesity that we reviewed and mindfulness. And it's going to do that with two essay questions. And you're only going to have one attempt to complete it. So once you click on to the quiz, you've got to be prepared to take it, and you've got to answer both questions, but yet it's not timed. So you'll be able to think through your answers and reflect on them. And then again, your Unit 2 discussion board, and I briefly go over as far as we blended mindfulness and obesity and what are some of the issues with obesity here. For this discussion, I want you to post a summary of what you perceive to be the key findings of this week's learning activities. And all that from Smiling Mind to the obesity sites to the video that you watched, From all of those learning activities, share how mindfulness impacts on weight loss, especially weight loss that persists over time. So last week we looked at the assignment tab and what is the expectation for discussion board postings. So remember, your posts are due by Friday evening, and the reason for that is because you then can respond to a classmate, and that gives everybody time to both post and then see their classmates' postings so that they can reply to one classmate. But your post should be due by Friday evening, more than 200 words, and we're going to start citing our week's learning activities. So that's one way to show an outstanding post. What does citing mean? That means we're going to start using APA format, and you're going to say what information, like who says. We'll go over more about citation, but I'd like you to give it a whirl this week. See what you can do, see what you bring to the table. Everybody's got a different knowledge base on citing another person's work and an individual's work. And so just give it a whirl. And then next week we'll talk a little bit more about APA citation. And so that's our learning unit for week 2. And any questions, you can, of course, access me through email. You can give me a call. We can meet in person. Have a great week.